Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And this is the number one problem facing World of Warcraft PvP, in particular, the arena bracket that really needs to be addressed. And apparently I'm being called out and name dropped on Reddit about it. Now, this is something that isn't new if you've been like a long-term PvPer at this point, and I don't really understand why they're so against it. But basically, it seems like almost every season past Dragonflight Season 1, we've had this problem where MMR is extremely low. And if you don't know what MMR is basically a number that determines the ceiling for the rating that you're able to achieve. So if MMR is higher, the ceiling is higher, so you can get more rating easily. If MMR is too low, then the ceiling is low, and it's hard to gain rating easily. And what I find interesting about it is that they're intense for this expansion, right? We had the questionnaire leading from the War Within into Midnight, and I actually selected my question. One of the questions was, are they looking at restructuring rewards to make them more accessible? Because basically nobody in the game gets Gladiator, right? And they agreed with it, and they said they're going to be lowering Gladiator from 2,400 to 2,300 with 50 wins to try and make it more accessible. But now, because MMR is so low, even though the participation is good, the participation of Solo Shuffle is higher than Battleground Blitz, but the ceiling is lower. So I'm trying to understand what is going on for that to happen, because typically MMR is dictated by the population of the game. So for example, in Shadowlands Season 1, we had the highest amount of people doing PvP, mostly because they put in items that PvEers wanted, which drove up participation, because that will always drive up participation, whether there's a best in slot item for any given content for PvE players at the moment, or just in the game in general. But that caused rating to shoot up to almost 4,000 because so many people were playing, and it shot it up. And then we had a similar stance in Dragonflight at the beginning in Season 1, where ratings shot up all the way to 4,000. Now, this is probably a bit too excessive, because then you end up having massive gaps between people and very long queue times, which is what's happening in Battleground Blitz. Because when we look at this other Reddit post where somebody outlines their shuffle rating at 1,500, but then their Blitz rating at 3K, once you get up to that rating in Blitz, you know, there's not a lot of other people at that MMR. You end up sitting very long queues, and then people have to do very degenerate stuff like inviting people who have low MMR, and then that injects MMR to them, and then that's the only way for them to get a queue, and then they can gain rating. It's just all over the place. Like, to me, Blitz is too high, and Shuffle is obviously too low. Like, I don't think you should be fighting BlizzCon champion level players at 2K rating, right? Like, 2K to 2,200 is AWC level, and then World Champion is like 2,300 plus. That just seems like the numbers are totally off. And this is, I agree, much like the post here is saying, is a major issue. Because if this issue is happening in PvE with Mythic Plus, say people weren't able to complete +7s on Keystones because they were just way too damn hard, the entire game and forums would be on fire. And it was actually brought to my attention that actually happened at some point in one of the Mythic Plus seasons, and they immediately jumped on that to fix it, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, you've set up this expectation of a difficulty curve, and if that expectation isn't met, then obviously the player base is going to sunder and rupture from the game. People will just give up, because it's like, well, I used to do Keystones 12s last season, and now I'm only able to do 7s. And that mental gap between the two is going to destroy someone's will to play the game. And that's what's happening in arenas and in Solo Shuffle at the moment, is that you might have been 2,200, 2,400 even last season, and now at this season, you feel you're like 1,700. And you're just like, what is going on? Like, what happened to this? Now I understand that it could be a difficult thing to balance, because if they inflate it too far, then everybody just guns through, gets all their rewards, and stops playing, which is usually what happens with most brackets, which is why I think we see them adding more mounts to Mythic Plus, because they're aware that that's going to happen, right? Once you get to the 3K mount, well, now what? The next reward's too far away, so they added a 3,400 mount. Now more people are going to do that, and then you can see that restructuring of rewards is driving up participation for Mythic Plus, and it works. So I don't understand why PvP feels like it's getting stranded here, because if these are major issues for PvE in the same caveat, it gets addressed almost immediately. Whereas I feel like this is like a repeated issue over and over. Either MMR just is way too high and everybody gets all their rating and they're separated and they sit queue times forever and everyone stops, or it's just like this where it's stuck to the ground and nobody can go anywhere and everybody's just like, well, I guess I'm going to take a break until the last week of the season because I can't really make any progress, right? And it's a major issue. This is a major issue. And then not to mention, adding the more. I've seen some people criticizing them adding more mounts actually to Mythic Plus, saying that there's too many and they're all FOMO mounts. So if you got to keep going to keep getting them. People actually think there's too many and they're getting overwhelmed by it. Meanwhile, in PvP, it's like we just want like a little bit of an extra reward for some of the solo brackets, because in my opinion, the solo brackets are going to be the dominant format of play at this point, right? Like most of us probably early 30s to late 30s, and there's just a scheduling conflict. Even though I think that 3v3 is the like prime bracket to play, and my best memories and friendships and bonds, like I still talk to people that I've played threes with, send memes to each other, and it's been like 15 years. Every once in a while they'll pop up and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember this guy, I was a cool guy. I think that's the best experience, but it's just when you're in your 30s, I'm not 15 in my mom's basement just sitting on WoW for 12 hours until my friends log on. I can't do that. And then if you can't do that, then you just don't sync up with people and you don't play the right comp and you're not able to succeed. And it's very challenging in that regard. So to me, the solo brackets are kind of the future, similarly to how they've embraced delves as solo content for PvEers. And people are very happy with that because it's just so challenging to get groups. And we even see them actually flexing raids, like mythic raids, I think are switching to 15 to 25 for the next raid. They're testing that out. So it's obvious that they're aware of those things when it comes to PvE, and it's literally the exact same when it comes to PvP, right? The audiences are very similar. So, from my personal standpoint, I'd like them to inflate the rating. I don't know how difficult that is to do, if it's something that's completely automated at the start of the season. So it's just, guess we're out of luck, can't do anything. It's completely automated at the start and it can't be manually addressed. I don't know. I don't actually know. But it's a leading cause of rupturing from the game, the same way that I explained for Mythic Plus, and it is easily the number one issue. If you feel like you can't make progress, you're gonna give up, right? You're gonna quit. And then obviously I think class balance, but the class balance tuning that's coming in today is actually possibly a lot more major than I was first assessing it. I'm seeing a lot of people bringing up good points about some of the changes that are coming to Rogue. It might actually be a very significant nerf to Rogue, and we might just see everything flip, and then the nerfs to a lot of the burst damage like Devourer, Demon Hunter. The game might actually be surprisingly different when it comes to balance changes. So I'm kind of sitting a little bit on the sidelines to see how that goes over, because it could actually end up being awesome. The healer balance feels like it's getting better. So it could actually be awesome when it comes to class balance today when the servers come up. But then when it comes to MMR, it's like, great, I'm having fun. We're playing the game. The game's a lot better. Now I can't go anywhere, right? Like even for myself, I'm sweating at like 2200 most of the time on my main character, and even on most of my alts around 2K to 2200. Like that's the sweat zone where I feel like I'm playing at BlizzCon most of the time, and I just feel like that's not where it should be. And it's about finding that Goldilocks middle, right? You go too high, it's bad. You too low, it's bad. Finding that Goldilocks middle, and then obviously putting more carrots on the stick. Because there are improvements to PvP. Like I think the training grounds with the NPCs is great for getting new people in. I really like that they added that weekly quest, which actually gave you a heroic track neck piece for people to get into PvP, and they could do training grounds or regular random battlegrounds. I've seen a lot of people that have been crossing over. So the introduction from PvE to PvP, they've improved that significantly. But then when you get into it, then you're met with this, and it's just like, I don't understand what's going on. That Battleground Blitz is just like, and it feels random too. You just get a win streak and you explode, and then you sit long queues, or you get a lose streak and then you're hard stuck at 1400. Like, to me, the main issue at the moment is reward structure, similarly to how they're improving it for Mythic Plus, and then rating and rating distribution and MMR and how it's calculated every week and what threshold it should start at in the first week. These are the main things. These are like urgent, red alert, needs to be solved, and then just copy pasted and never messed with ever again. Just, okay, we found that's the sweet spot. That's where people feel like they can make progress, and don't change it, because we just have such volatile swings. Just, it feels like randomly, like some seasons just randomly are like twice as high of MMR. And what that does is it's even worse, because then that's an expectation that, well, I was 3K rated in Dragonflight Season 1, or I was 3K rated in Shadowlands Season 1. Why am I now 2K? Well, because the MMR system that was running behind the scenes has just changed. It needs to be consistent. My opinion is that it needs to be completely stripped out of the game and reset. We need a new metric, like this whole like 1,000 rating, 2,000 rating, 3,000 rating. That metric needs to be deleted, because everyone's expectations around it are completely destroyed. We need to go to a system that's like bronze, silver, gold without a number attached to it. So you can be like, okay, I was Bronze League this season, and now I'm Bronze League this season, next season. Great, that makes sense. Or I improved to Silver League, and now I understand, like, and keep it the same every season so that we don't blow people's expectations out of the water for where they're supposed to be sitting as far as rating. But I saw this post, called me out. Here's the video. So if you guys want to draw attention to it, like, comment, give me your biggest grievance when it comes to what's going on with the game at the moment in the comments down below, and maybe we can bring some attention to it. Again, I don't know if anything's going to come of it. I don't know if it's possible for anything to come of it, because I feel like this is just like, this issue happens every time, it feels like, and it kind of just, we just go on, we just go on, and then it does eventually fix itself, which is the good thing. By the end of the season, it will be much easier to get these rewards, although maybe not Gladiator. I think that the inflation in that bracket will probably continue to struggle. But those are my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. All right, there you go. I've voiced it many times. So, but we'll voice it again just for you guys. Okay. So thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one.